you were to name something that you think would massively, in the future, disrupt the talent industry, what would that look like?
I think it's already doing it, but AI, if it's used in the right way, it can have a positive impact. It's there to assist, not to replace. Sometimes you just look at a CV and something on there catches your eye and you pick up the phone, you have a conversation and you hire a superstar. AI can't pick up on things like that. I think it's important to keep the human element there.
Welcome to In The Mixx, People and Talent, the podcast where we dive into stories, challenges and successes shaping the world of HR and talent. Each episode, we sit down with the people behind the company, HR leaders, talent experts and business innovators to uncover what really drives great teams and thriving workplaces.
Great to have you on. We have a tradition on our podcast where we put your name into ChatGPT and ask it to give us an overview of you. Have you ever done it before?
Bloody hell.
I'm going to do your introduction for you.
Okay.
Natalie Gibbings is the head of talent acquisition at Aiimi, where she's played a key role in transforming the company's approach to hiring and culture as it scaled beyond its roots. Now known for her strategic thinking and people-first mindset, Natalie has helped streamline recruitment processes, build a strong employee brand and attract diverse talent, all whilst preserving Aiimi's unique culture. She's been recognised within the business for her impact, earning awards like Newcomer of the Year and Aimia of the Year. Beyond her professional role, Natalie is a passionate advocate for inclusion and health support in the workplace, drawing from personal experience to drive meaningful conversations around well-being and the realities women face at work. Her leadership style blends efficiency with empathy, making her a standout voice in the world of people and talent.
I mean, I'll definitely take that.
Your face.
Email me that over.
Are we talking about me here?
Have you ever done that before?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing, so...
Would you say that's pretty bang on? You definitely take it?
Yeah, for sure.
Good
What's
stuff.
really good, Nat, is obviously you've had quite an unconventional journey to now, haven't you? From school to where you are in recruitment. Can we just talk a little bit around how you've got to where you are? Most important points of your journey so far?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it I'd say was to do right place, right time. So I started my career actually as a makeup artist, so could not be further away from what I thought was recruitment. And a client of mine that would come in regularly said to me, have you ever thought about doing recruitment? And I was like, do I get to finish at 5 and can I have weekends off? She definitely lied to me because she said yeah.
I was thinking that.
Yeah. Weekends definitely, but no 5 finishes. And I just kind of took the leap. So much like everyone, fell into recruitment, and I realised really quickly that there was a lot of synergy between what I was doing on the makeup counters, you know, selling, but I exchanged lipsticks for people, really.
I mean, there is a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Lipsticks don't say no or turn their phone off or go AWOL.
I went from what was a very, you know, red lipstick's going to be a red lipstick to a completely unpredictable product. So yeah, fell into it, did a few years with that particular agency, got headhunted and moved to a completely different industry. And then, bit of a complete twist, went to New Zealand and travelled with a racing series, which was so much fun, but again, not conventional at all. And then that's when I landed in Tate. And I'd say that's when my recruitment career really started to, I guess, take off. And I understood what recruitment was really all about. Was with Tate for quite some time and then moved into another specialism. I missed out. I ended up going to Dubai for a little while, actually.
Damn you.
I know. I remember having that conversation. Went on holiday to Dubai, came back with a job, as you do. Did a bit of niche recruitment over there. There's been lots of twists and turns. And then the pandemic hit. So around that time, my bags were packed and I was actually about to relocate to New York. Trump had other ideas about that and closed the borders on the day of my flight.
Just COVID?
Yeah. So spent 7 months in furlough, and then realised after years of dipping in and out of the UK and being away from my family that I actually wanted to set some proper roots down here in the UK. And that's when I decided to make the transition into internal recruitment or talent acquisition. And yeah, I've been doing this now for 5 years.
And how long did you do external for?
I think it was about 10, maybe a little bit less than that.
So you've been with Aiimi for 5 years.
So I've been with Aiimi for 3, and then I did a short stint with Hamptons. So that was a estate agency recruitment that gave me a bit of insight into what internal recruitment looks like, and I just fell in love with it. I could still do what I loved, but I got to see people that I was placing their journeys throughout their time with the employer, and I really loved that.
So Amy's been on such a growth journey, particularly since you joined. I remember when they came to Milton Keynes from London, and I remember there was lots of talk about them, presumably such a cool, quirky, fun brand. Surely the candidates just find you, right?
You'd think, but Amy's like was the best kept secret. And I was really surprised about that. So I actually pitched Aiimi as a client when I was with my previous agency, and that's how I met them, because it was such a cool brand that was coming to Milton Keynes. And then went off.
Go on then, give us your pitch. Was it something about a llama?
It was something about a llama, yeah.
I remember that.
So I sent an email directly to the CEO, Steve, and I thought, right, they're quirky. I've got to go quirky with my intro. And yeah, just basically talked about llamas because that's their mascot. And he loved it, circulated it, managed to get a meeting with them. And yeah, it kind of went full circle. So from moving to New York and handing that account over to then, what was it, 2 years later, them approaching me to say, we'd love for you to come and join us as our head of talent. We've got some big growth plans. And it was just such a no-brainer. I'd always said to them, if you have an opportunity, please let me know, because I'll be there.
There's so much to be said about that. Chris and I speak all the time, don't we, about this kind of one fits all in terms of sales approach, sending out either generic emails that are not personal, or even worse than that now is just sending out a bot, isn't it, to do your an AI intro. You took that step to be brave, bold, kind of almost mimic the language they use on their website, and look where you are now.
Yeah.
It's a lot to be learnt for people listening to this that are probably in recruitment and or sales that, you know, want to be a bit different and stand out in their career.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's something that you taught me actually, was that it's quality over quantity. You know, KPIs are there for a reason so that you can have structure and stay focused, but actually your focus should be on the outcome. You know, don't just send an email for the sake of it because you want to tick one of those boxes before you go home at the end of the day. Actually think about what you want to get out of it. I mean, I get bombarded with generic messages all the time.
As do we.
It makes me cringe because I'm like, oh, especially when you've kind of done that job as well, you're just like, come on, take a minute.
Try a bit harder.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong, it can go the other way. I had someone actually send me a rap.
Okay.
Is it a good rap? Or?
I mean, I was like, fair play, but might be a bit too much the other way.
I can see you doing a rap, Chris. So you can pull that off.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Yeah.
So with the growth with Aiimi, obviously you've been a massive part of the strategy from a recruitment standpoint. What has that looked like? What changes have you implemented to make them as successful as an employer as what they are now?
Yes, so when I joined, they'd never had a full internal TA team. And they'd sort of built one out, and in all honesty, when I joined, being really raw, it was not fit for purpose. We were trying to hire at the pace of contractors, so very reactive. But a lot of the experience that sat within the team was around slow, almost like defence perm recruitment, which takes a lot of time. So the first thing that I looked at was rejigging the skill set within the team that we had, understanding what the pain points were and coming up with a solution so that we could be reactive with our recruitment, but actually proactive at the same time. So a lot of it was building internal relationships with hiring managers and understanding what good looks like, all very similar to what I did on the agency side. But because we're a consultancy, I also needed to understand what the end client needed and what good looked like to them as well. So the strategy on that was making sure we had the right skill set and hiring permanently into Aiimi, but also making sure that we almost had, I guess we'd call it in agency like a virtual bench. So individuals that we'd engaged with understood if Aiimi was the right environment for them to work in, the types of projects that we were working on, but sort of saying, look, we don't just want to bring you in for the sake of it. Let me reach back out to you when we have a really cool project that we can embed you into. So that was the first thing that I did. The second part of it was putting Aiimi on the map in the sense of embedding us into the local community. So when they relocated from London Bridge to Milton Keynes, we went straight into lockdown. So we had this phenomenal office space that no one had been to see. No one really knew much about us. They'd get us confused with the construction company.
That's right. What is that? AIME?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things the CEO was really keen on doing is elevating us that way. And I was like, well, this is a cool space. We've got a phenomenal community here in Milton Keynes. I'm MK, born and raised. Let's reach out and open up the space to them. And the response we had was phenomenal. I think the first year we did that, we hosted 140 events.
Wow.
Unreal.
Which was amazing. And that was charities through to networks, entrepreneurs, a lot of tech roundtables, and our clients as well. So local companies that wanted to come and do, I guess, like an away day, because it really is a cool space. I mean, we've got a bar. Our head of happiness is a border terrier called Coco. We've got segways, a jukebox. It's a really wicked space, and it's right next to the train station, so very, very accessible.
Yeah, it's actually a privilege to have, isn't it? And we can vouch for that, having hosted our AI event there late last year. It was honestly, the feedback from everyone that came was like, wow.
Yeah.
What a little, like you said, the best kept secret, like a little hidden gem, and it's got everything facilities wise.
And it encourages collaboration, because that's what a lot of these events are about. And sometimes when you're walking into a really formal setting, it can feel a little bit rigid. Yeah, exactly. Whereas I feel like the space that we have, you've got bean bags, you've got different spaces if you want to go and have different conversations. It just, I think, is tailored for that. So I'd say those two things combined, it took time, but it definitely helped to get us to where we are now.
One of the things you mentioned was about the best kept secret.
Yeah.
I know you just touched on it as well, Gem. Obviously, with it moving to Milton Keynes, was there anything in particular that you could pinpoint that kind of really helped boost your employer brand to attract talent, but I guess also getting the right mix so you don't lose that kind of culture, because you've grown from 80 to 180 in the last 3 years? So tell us a little bit more about that employee brand, but actually still trying to keep that culture.
So I think a lot of it is to do with representation. If you can see somebody in a business that you can relate to, or you feel that there's some type of synergy there, that means a lot. And I was already walking into what was quite a diverse group of individuals. The skill set, and I mean, these guys are so smart. I feel like I'm in an episode of Big Bang Theory daily, and I'm just clueless Penny, not really knowing what's going on. But they're smart, but kind and happy to share their knowledge at the same time. And that really stood out to me, is that when you're asking questions, even if it feels like a stupid question, they're happy to share. So we really honed in on implementing that into our selection process and making sure that we were showcasing it through our marketing platforms so that people could see how we work. You know, come and join us, because we're working on some really cool, forward-thinking, innovative ideas. But actually the culture you're going to get involved in allows you to make mistakes and learn from them. There's support coming from the top down, which I think is really important. You know, Steve, Lisa, our operational director, and the rest of the board of directors aren't far removed from the business. They are there in the trenches with us on the day-to-day, and that genuinely makes the world of difference. Oh my
It does,
God.
yeah. We've met Steve on a number of occasions and Lisa only most recently, but having heard lots about them both before, it completely mirrors just how they were. There's no hidden agendas there. They are just true, genuine people, aren't they, that roll their sleeves up and
Yeah, there's no smoke and mirrors, which is unusual. You know, they'll talk about financial performance on our monthly team meetings. There's no secrets in business, which I think is amazing, because then you buy into, right, we're building this together, we're on this journey together. I think strategically as well, we've kind of recognized where you go from a small business where you kind of have to grow up a little bit. So implementing more structured support mechanisms in the business, like our people operational managers, appointing a HR director that's come in and joined us, different communities internally, so things like Aiimi Pulse, where people can share their ideas and feel heard. There's so many different things that we've done and we've learned along the way, but what's great is, again, they're really open about that journey too.
there's so many different milestones, isn't there? I think we're going through that phase now, aren't we? Of going from a small business where me and Chris literally do everything with the broom hanging out of the backside to, right, guys, come on, step back now. You've got people in positions that can help with that. So
touching on because obviously you joined in talent, there wasn't a talent team when you joined. Do you feel like you was quite reactive at the start, and do you feel you're more proactive now? Because obviously your employee brand's growing, people know, you know, you can't really flick onto LinkedIn nowadays without seeing your cool space. And I know you do a lot, don't you, in the community and your corporate social responsibility and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah. It was, I'd say the first 18 months was brum up my arse, just trying to survive and get through it. But actually, that was incremental in being able to then build out a strategy. I needed to understand what the pain points were, what our challenges were, and live it. I think sometimes as a head of TA, you go straight into that role and you're not on the tools. I love being on the tools. And that was kind of where I'd come from agency wise. So it felt quite seamless to me. But I think a lot of the time you can go straight to strategy. Or no, I need to kind of like live and breathe it first, and then I can build a strategy out the back of that. So it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, if I'm honest with you. And then I knew what type of team I needed to build off the back of doing it all myself.
It's really interesting, because how are you meant to engage with candidates, right, if you don't really understand what the business actually does? And I think sometimes people can get too caught up in the strategic stuff when actually not really understanding the day-to-day, the ins and outs. I mean, let's be honest, you're not an AI scientist, are you, by any means?
Absolutely not.
But
I only work an iPhone.
But to understand it, embed yourself in it, speak to the line managers, have them open conversations to kind of gain that knowledge and credibility. When you're speaking to candidates, you kind of can talk their language, right?
100%. And it flips the other way. So they had an interview process that was, I mean, we're talking 7 different stages. And the reason why they'd done that is they genuinely thought that it was great that the candidates could meet as many people in the business as possible. And I was like, it's not translating. So they had the best intentions, but actually, because that piece was missing, I could then come in and go, actually, this is what we need to do. And I mean, we changed our time to hire. I mean, we more than halved it, and our time to offer went from something like 30 days to 5 days. So just stripping it back, doing it really well, being really intentional with the people that we were getting them to meet, transformed the way that we were able to hire and then grow. So that was an eye-opener, I think, for them.
Tell us a little bit more, because you've built a team now. You've got a team that works with you as well?
So I have my senior talent partner. We actually worked together at the last agency we were both with. And I knew that I wanted her in the team. It took me a couple of years to convince her, but I eventually got there.
Convince her to come over to internal?
Or to work with you again?
Maybe, the latter.
Brace herself for that one.
A bit of both.
A bit of both, definitely. So she actually completely left the industry of recruitment and was working in sort of land sales. So completely different. And actually, I think it was the best thing, because there's like a whole new skill set that she's been able to bring into Aiimi. But yeah, it's just the two of us, and be surprised how much you can get done with when you've got 2 of the right people, as opposed to, I guess, kind of the team that I needed to restructure when I joined that just wasn't working. It's been great. and there's a lot more buying across from the business now. I mean, I'm not going to lie, when I joined, recruitment had a really bad reputation, had a lot of difficult intro meetings.
I'm really surprised by that. No.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I had a meeting on Friday with a client of ours. She's one of two in talent.
Yeah.
And one of them comes from agency, one doesn't.
Yeah.
And she said, our relationship is amazing. When we fill jobs, we celebrate and get excited. And I was like, oh, it sounds like us. But there's that new, like that zest, that kind of excitement for it. Because it is very different, isn't it, to work in external. And you have to G yourself up and you have to champion yourself when you fill those hard roles, because you're working in a strategic partnership with that line manager to get the best out of them for them, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
but you come out of agency where you have to celebrate the small wins. Even if you've had a great call, you're getting off and you're ringing a bell and you're like, right, yeah, I've smashed it. Like, I actually managed to speak to a decision maker and they didn't tell me to fuck off today. So that was a bit of a shift for me, because I was, especially when I was in the standalone role for a little while, I was like, I kind of have to be my own biggest cheerleader, which in all honesty, I'm not great at.
Who is? Chris finds it the most cringing thing ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if I'm like, woo! It's like, oh God, she's off on one again.
Yeah. Well,
Something that I'm trying to improve on.
yeah, it's uncomfortable for sure, and I still feel a little bit uncomfortable doing it now, but it's so important to instill that in my senior talent partner. Like, well done, you took something that was really, really difficult, because we're not only working with the challenge of our internal hiring manager, it's the challenge of the end client and what they want, and sometimes reality and want and desire kind of don't align. So
it's quite a big mindset shift as well, I guess, is when you're in the agency world, you're consistently chasing the line manager, and then in the internal world, you can't get away from the line manager. Right?
yeah it's interesting, because I really felt the pain, and when I'd be chasing in agency, I was like, oh my God, what's taking them so long? And I get it now. Like, recruitment is, and I think we're starting to make a bit of a turn now, but it seems to be a little bit down the pecking order of priorities, especially when you're producing innovative products or delivering projects. But a lot of it is setting the tone right from the start, which I'm sure you guys can relate to, is like set the plan, put it in concrete right from the start. This is going to be the follow-up call for the feedback. So then a lot of it is basics, but you'd be surprised, I'm sure you wouldn't be surprised, but how many people aren't doing the basics. So
would you have a time frame with the line manager internally to say, this is how we're going about this project?
Absolutely, yeah. And we tried to make it as easy as possible. So before it was like, just email us the feedback. We've now got a proper scorecard that's very easy for them to fill out during the interview. We do a follow-up call in 15 minutes. We tag it on to the interview. So at the end, we're getting feedback. We make and it's how we've done the 5 days time to offer. So then a second stage or third stage will be within a couple of days, and the feedback that we've had from candidates has been amazing. Like, the best interview process that they've been in. We've been able to, sometimes you're up against some really big competitors that are much larger than us. They can offer different things to us, but they're coming and joining us because they're like, well, if this interview process is anything to go by, I can't wait to come and join the business. And again, that was an education piece, I think, for the business, is like, it's really important that first touch point and experience is so integral.
It's amazing. It's good to see you guys leading the way in the world of talent. I think there's a big shift that still needs to happen out there. But like you say, it's just 1% of that person's job, isn't it? Recruitment.
Yeah.
Kind of forget the obvious, stating the obvious, in that without the good people, they're not going to have a vision. They're not going to make their profits and things. But when it comes to the day-to-day crunch, we know as running a business, recruitment is a massive part for us. Consistently looking at the talent, that talent funnel, pipeline of people, all of that stuff is so important.
Yeah.
You mentioned the word uncomfortable a moment ago. So speaking of uncomfortable, and hopefully you're open to being a little bit vulnerable with us here, Nat, but you've battled with endometriosis for many, many years of your life, and it's all recently come to head, and your employer have supported you.
Yeah, amazingly.
Without going into too much detail, what advice would you give to any employers listening around how to support females through things such as endometriosis?
I would definitely say communication is key, because people don't know what they don't know. And although endometriosis is, 1 in 7 women have it, one in 7 women aren't talking about it. It's, look, you're talking about your private parts. You kind of got to call a spade a spade.
Chris is like going out with the door.
This is education for me.
Yeah, but I recently did a bit of a lunch and learn on it because I'd taken time out of the business, people had noticed, and I kind of just wanted to be open with that journey. And it is uncomfortable to talk about, especially, I ended up having to have a hysterectomy. And communication for me was everything. Visibly, when I wasn't looking too good or feeling too good, people would notice. I'm a big personality, so if I'm not turning up and I'm my usual chirpy self, was because I was in a lot of pain, people would ask. And I was just very open in saying, I have stage 4 endometriosis. It's really uncomfortable. This is what it means. And what was great was that they wanted to know, so they were asking questions. It didn't feel uncomfortable once I'd said it, and I think that that's what really, really helped. And the questions that my employer was asking was, there was no assumption on what I needed. They asked me, what do you need on this journey? And then I was able to kind of go away, reflect on that, and go, right, these are the things that I need. Things that were important to me was, I'm quite a proud person. I don't like too much fuss, but flexibility and being able to work from home when I'm having a particularly tough day, it's easier for me to work from a sofa with 2 hot water bottles than it is to do that in the office, because you're also drawing a lot of attention to it. And then, I had 6 months of treatment in the lead up to my surgery in January, and it was being able to kind of take a bit of time out as and when I needed to, because it was quite heavy going treatment that I had to have. And then the surgery itself, I was probably a bit unrealistic with my recovery time. Shocking. I was like, I'll be back in 2 weeks. It'll be fine. I did have some post-op complications, and not once did they make me feel guilty about it. I was in a hospital bed messaging them going, I'm really sorry, I can log in from here. And they were like, don't be so ridiculous. Like, get off your phone. Your recovery is the most important thing. And my manager, the ops director, Lisa, was coming and doing my one-to-ones in my flat and visiting me, which was amazing. And to be honest, it was more well-being checks than anything else. They were accommodating in, they knew I wanted to get back to work, so they were able to create space for me to be able to do that in a staged way too. I needed that for my sanity. I could not sit there and watch Loose Women all day. I'd lose my mind.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah.
So would you say the onus is on the employer, or would you say it's as much responsibility of the person going through it to try and be as open as possible to let the employer know and navigate them through where they stand?
I would say it's slightly more on the employee than the employer, because your employers are going to be made up of lots of different people. And just because you're a woman, it doesn't mean that you know what endometriosis feels like or what having a hysterectomy feels like. And it's not just the physical side to it, but it's actually the emotional recovery that you need to make from that. Menopause is another touch point, which I had the joy of going through as well for 6 months in the lead up to the surgery. And I was even guilty of it. Someone saying a hot flush to me and then actually experiencing it, it's like the sun's entered your brain.
I've been victim to your hot flushes, so
yeah.
leave that one there.
Yeah. So
you don't think it has any sway in that your upline lease is female, and you think that has zero relevance? It's more about the individual communicating to the employer and manager.
I personally do. I think it's down to us as individuals to educate, and it's the employer's responsibility to create a space for you to be heard, and then have a strategy to be able to create actions, communities and policies that can support what you need. So it is definitely both, but like I said, you don't know what you don't know.
It's really interesting because people that are listening to this potentially work for maybe a larger employer, maybe somewhere they've just started to work, somewhere that's a bit more rigid and corporate. They might not necessarily feel comfortable in being open about what they're going through.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to lead us on nicely to Chris's next question for you.
Okay.
No, do you know what it is that, like, just touching on what you said around you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I still kind of remember the first time one of our staff got pregnant here, and how I reacted then to how I react now is completely different, because at the time I was like, you've just built your desk and you're just starting to earn loads of commission.
Yeah.
And you're going to go and have a baby. Didn't really understand it. And then it was only like when them words come out of my mouth, I was like, oh my God, that's not my place to say that.
Yeah.
And, you know, thankfully she's back now and she's doing amazing. But, you know, now, you know, it's to try and put yourself in that person's shoes, really understand kind of what they're going through, whether it is pregnancy, menopause,
Yeah.
you know, whatever it might be. And it is an education piece, definitely. But I think what would be quite good is to understand a little bit more what you think, why you think maybe some employers struggle with this and what they could be doing better. I know you touched a little bit on around policies and
Yes.
support, but, you know, if someone was listening now that maybe never dealt with someone that's had, I'm going to try and say it, endometriosis.
Yeah, that's it. It's a mouthful.
For someone that maybe has never had an employee that's had that,
Yeah.
what could a company potentially do, you know, that maybe doesn't have a policy around that or has never been through that before? What could they potentially do?
Yeah, I think that bringing in external educators to do lunch and learns and talks on it is a great starting point, because it means that if you do have employees that aren't as confident or comfortable in talking about it, you can be proactive in identifying individuals that can come in and do that education piece for you. And a lot of those people have lived experiences, so you are getting somebody that is probably a true subject matter expert.
And is that like a local charity or?
It can be, yeah. So you can, for me, you can go to like endometriosis, like different charities, but there are a lot of specialists that have then become coaches in that space, and they're so accessible. I mean, social media has kind of blown up in a completely different way in the last 5 years. So you've got things like TikTok, Instagram, where people are educating anyway. And I think touching on those individuals and bringing them into start the conversation, so they're the catalyst, and then building communities of purpose within your business, so people that want to come and talk about it will, or creating surveys. I know these all sound like really basic things, but that can be done anonymously if somebody doesn't feel comfortable coming forward, and then building your policies out of that. Don't assume, because, and also, you know, you need to know the nuances of it, because somebody that has stage 1 endometriosis will be very different from somebody that has stage 4. Somebody that's perimenopausal will be different from somebody that is actually in the thick of menopause. It's so nuanced. It's really, I think, very similar to neurodiversity and that specific space that we're all learning so much more about, is that it's a broad spectrum, and that approach needs to be applied to women's health as well.
So you'd say like, lean into it. So what a lot of leaders probably do is bury their head in the sand because they don't understand it, and then they're almost scared to ask or question about it.
Yeah.
So I guess having that openness and that willingness to lean into it, and like you said, it can be employee-led rather than employer-led, to understand where they're at, what's actually going on, because, you know, it's not like you Google it. Like you said, stage 1 to stage 4 is completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think HR always play a big part in creating those policies. But again, I just wonder if they don't have lived experience, does it then become a box ticking exercise? And it's one of the things that I love about Aiimi, is that they're very considered. They'll take all of the information and then they'll go and create the policies, rather than going, oh, we better put something in.
Making it people focused.
Yeah, don't create a policy to avoid having a situation where you're then being taken to court. Create policies so that you are empowering and investing in your employees, because it's the right thing to do ethically, but actually the buy-in that Aiimi now have from me as a loyal employee is amazing. You know, I'm so grateful for what they did for me. And I know that sounds like they're my employer, they should be doing it. They should, but not a lot of employers do.
No.
And I probably wouldn't have felt comfortable enough to have had that surgery if I didn't feel like I was in the right environment. I'd say I should have had the surgery 5 years ago, but I've never really felt comfortable enough to take that time out and go and do it.
Depends where you're at financially, the stress and pressures that you're under daily, whether you feel like you can openly talk about what you're going through and have that flexibility following on from the surgery. Like you said, it wasn't as black and white as you thought it would be. Far from it.
Definitely not. Yeah.
You had their support all the way, which is really good.
Yeah, and it's nice because there's continued education that's going on. You know, it's something that we still talk about. We review policies and make sure that they're fit for purpose on a regular basis, because we're all still learning. And that's what's nice, is that you don't just do it and then let it collect dust. You know, keep making sure
We've done that now.
Yeah, exactly.
Finish with that one.
Yeah.
No, it's really good. It's really good that you also can have a, you know, employer that can, you feel like you can have that openness and vulnerability. But like you said, from when you join, it seems like they're very kind of open doors, not just for stuff like this, but ideas, and people share a lot and collab. So.
And don't get me wrong, that took me time. I would say it took me at least a year to start to be. I'm not a very open person anyway, as you well know.
What do you mean? You don't like hugs and things like that either, do you?
No. Well, back in the day, no.
This is a relationship podcast.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I'm generally not an open person. I'm not I don't really I haven't in the past enjoyed being vulnerable. I associated it with weakness, and that's absolutely not the case at all. And that's been a personal journey for me too. But after consistently being in an environment where it's encouraged and you see other people doing it and then reaping the rewards, it then became more and more natural to me.
Love that. One of the we're going to move on to some quick fire questions shortly, but one of the things you didn't mention in your journey intro was your connection to Chris and I.
I know.
And you said that you fell into recruitment, and I used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
As did Chris, but you know what? Now we're like, no, we're going to own it. We chose to be in recruitment.
We jumped.
We literally leaped into it. Now, if I'm going to be really honest, if it wasn't for me choosing to be in recruitment, I wouldn't have my now husband. I wouldn't have my now best mate. So I literally owe everything to the recruitment industry.
I thought she was going to say, I wish I never got into it.
Yeah.
Can't get away
saved
from
me a lot of trouble.
If you were to name one disruptor, something that you think would massively in the future, so think about into the future, what could disrupt the talent industry, what would that look like?
I think it's already doing it, but AI, I think if it's used in the right way, it can be disruptive. It can have a positive impact. It's there to assist, not to replace. And I've used this many times where, as a recruiter with a certain amount of experience, sometimes you just look at a CV and you might just see something on there that catches your eye, and you pick up the phone, you have a conversation, and you hire a superstar. And AI can't pick up on things like that. And I've heard a lot of candidates come in and talking to me through some of the mentorship that I do, where they're like, I've structured my CV, I'm ticking all the boxes, and I'm not getting picked up for these roles. And a lot of the time these are maybe, I don't want to say larger organizations, because I don't know if some smaller organizations are using it to filter and select CVs, but it's through the selection process. And believe it or not, even though we are an AI company, I make my team do it manually. And I mean, last year for our emerging talent recruitment, we had 896 applicants.
Wow.
And we went through them because there's just some things that through experience, not only professionally, but also personally, that you pick up on. So I think that it can be disruptive in a positive way if it's used in the right way. But I think it's important to keep the human element there, because otherwise you can really miss out on some hidden gems. And I've found that actually it's those, I think about the cohort that we brought in last year for our emerging talent. I mean, some of them don't come from obvious backgrounds. We've had a warehouse worker, somebody that worked in pharmaceuticals, and I just have to wonder if AI would have picked them up or not.
Absolutely. Do you know, we've had some real great successful placements over the last few weeks even, and the candidates are completely left field. You know, on paper they're not obvious matches. That would never have been picked up by an AI. In fact, the client actually pushed back.
Yeah.
And sort of, luckily, we do have a process in place which is really tight, and it does not 100% eliminate, but to a degree eliminate any unconscious bias, and it enables us to do the work we need to do, the great work behind the scenes, and follow our in-depth processes. But then we're presenting the candidate on the merit for that role,
Yeah.
not based on their CV or their name or where they live, or, you know, suitability from kind of CV through to job description.
I think if you to think about some of our top performers as well over the last few years,
Yeah.
you know, if you put a recruitment consultant job description and then you put their CV into some form of AI or machine, they wouldn't match up.
No.
I mean, you might get a low percentage of, you know, matches, but I don't think it, you know, like you said, it's that spotting the little things that that the AI might not pick up. But I think one of the things you said that's quite interesting as well is, and we had this conversation on the first episode, was around it's here to assist, not to replace. And I feel like the people that will get left behind are the people that don't lean in to help it assist them. The people that are just completely steering away from it because they don't understand it and don't want to lean into it.
Yeah, I think fear's a big thing. You fear the unknown, but actually I think understanding what it is and a lot of trial and error. Don't be afraid to get it wrong, and have that open conversation with your hiring team and your candidates, to be quite honest, about, we're trying this out, we're going to see if it works, your feedback is important to us. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable on that journey, because everybody's going through it, and it's okay to get it wrong so long as you can learn something from it and get it right as you move forward.
We've been demoing AI, haven't we, from a CV sifting standpoint since we first went into lockdown. And we chose to steer clear of that, but we do use AI in so many other ways to aid and enhance and enable the consultants upstairs to work at speed and accuracy, but not take away that human touch, which is ultimately what people want. It's what candidates want. It's what they love about applying for Aiimi. If they don't get the job, you leave them with such a lasting experience, much like Mixos. We have like 200 Google reviews now, don't we? There's actually a percentage in there of people we've not even placed.
Yeah.
And they've just had a great experience with us.
Yeah.
We've not managed to place them, but we've given them that sort of high touch, that time, help them steer towards what it is they're looking for, and given them good.
I think also while we're on the AI tools piece, I feel like there's so many like flashy new bits of AI and systems and bits of plugins that you can use.
Yeah.
It can be quite overwhelming. I think it's about really looking at your business, where you could use it for time efficiencies, to assist people more, and then picking the right avenue for you and your business, rather than looking at all 8 and trying to roll them all in at once and it just none of them working. I think it's like a step by step rather than, because it's a loud market, right?
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
As every business will have a purpose, you know, you've got your vision, but then actually what is your purpose? And any tool that you are using to help achieve that should be working towards it. So one of the things that we always look at, especially in recruitment, is any system that we're using, any AI tool, I'm like, is this working towards my purpose and my purpose in the business, and what talent do in the business, and then Amy's purpose? And it really is about connecting people, and so long as it's doing that in the right way, you're aligned. But it is overwhelming, and then what's even scarier is everything that's being built right now is going to be redundant in, you know, a year or 18 months time, and then there'll be new ones.
Apart from the overview of you on ChatGPT, we're going to get that.
Yeah.
We'll frame that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll get that framed. And moving on nicely then, so your career to date, obviously we discussed that earlier in a bit of detail. Would you say has been the biggest influence on your career?
This is going to sound a bit cheesy, but Gemma, in all honesty, I talk about my career in recruitment from the point where I actually joined Tate and Gemma took me on. And I say took me on, I'm not joking. She definitely took me on because I was probably a little bit of a reprobate actually when I joined Tate. And I can imagine we've had lots of conversations about it. Like in the beginning, it was like, what? But actually, that's where I learned what best practice is and what being a recruiter was about. Up until that point, I didn't really know what I was doing. It was a focus on filling vacancies, and that was it, which I think is something that recruitment is so much bigger than that and so much deeper. And just from the work that Gem did with me, it was understanding like the why behind it and understanding why I wanted to do recruitment, which was to help people. I loved helping people that were kind of on their arse. And
Tuesday to Friday.
just Tuesday to Friday.
That was a long weekend.
You won't get much from me on a Monday, I'm afraid.
With high performance, though, does come that, and when you're young and you are growing in your career, right, that it does, and recruitment can really take it out on you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I worked hard, but I probably played even harder.
Party hard.
Yeah, Thirsty Thursdays and all that, yeah.
And the glory days.
The glory days, I haven't got it in my locker now. I need about 2 weeks on to get over one night out. But also leading by example. So, you know, you'd never ask me to do something that you wouldn't do yourself, and really pushing me out of my comfort zone. I hated picking up that phone, as everyone when they first start in recruitment does. And it was a case of like not being aggressive with it, but empowering me and being like, what is the worst that can happen? And once I got my brain around that, I was like, you can brush it off and you move on. And then it was celebrating the small wins along the way. Okay, someone picked up the phone and had a conversation with you. Celebrate that. Because it is a big thing, especially, I mean, in a day, you're going to make, 50 calls? And back then, you're going to make 50 calls and maybe 3 people aren't going to tell you to jog on. So if you're lucky. Going out and door knocking, that was like, but Jen made it fun. We'd blast tunes and we'd go and have a lot of fun with it and come up with creative campaigns. And it was injecting the fun into what we did and making sure that we did it with purpose. And I've kind of taken that with me throughout my career, like being intentional with the things that you do, because all the little different acts that you do throughout the day are going to feed into the results that you get, maybe not straight away, but in a month or a year's time.
I think that's one of the things I loved when I fell into recruitment.
Yeah.
You can't say that anymore.
I remember you falling through the door into recruitment as well.
Yeah, I bet
Won't
you do.
even talk about it.
The thing that I loved the most, I guess, was around the more effort I put in, all of the things, all of the decisions that I made every single day, the harder I worked, the better the results. It was like everything you put in is what you get out. And it's one of the only industries that is like that. Like you can really take control of your desk. And I mean, you met me 10 years ago.
I know, that's crazy.
9 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was about that.
And like you've obviously seen a bit of a change. Well, I hope you have.
I think we both
in the
have
9
each
years,
other,
it's
though.
been crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, the biggest thing, and it's something that I have to work on daily, is consistency in what I'm doing. And that is applied in every area of my life. Is that, it can be anything from improving my fitness to generally being a happier person, to getting the results and reaching the goals that I want at work. It's very easy to do something every day for a week. And then you're kind of like, I've done it for a week now, here's my reward, everything's going to go to shit. But actually, it's when you're doing it consistently over an extended period of time, it then becomes a lifestyle. That's when I really feel like you see the results. And I think you really instilled that, not just in me, but all of us as a team. And it's paid dividends massively. I don't think I'd be doing the job that I am now if I hadn't worked with you, because I just don't think I would be as structured, or I can be a bit chaotic at times.
Just gonna cry.
Can't we all? No. I mean, me and Chris are still walking hurricanes, aren't we? But one thing I will say is what you get.
I mean, it definitely kept it spicy and interesting, that's for sure.
You've experienced that hurricane, haven't you?
Yeah.
Throwing chocolate peanuts and stuff around your Don't
I
do
don't
that
know,
anymore.
I don't know who would do that. That is crazy behaviour.
But it kept it fun, you know. I think
Yeah.
you've got to have fun when you're at work, because the job that we do, whether you're internal or external, it's hard.
I'm chuckling inside.
I
I'm
know.
thinking about a few things that happened in our office. I won't. Let's not
We'll
go.
do that on a different podcast.
Yeah, let's not go into that.
Completely different
That's
podcast
for another
altogether.
day.
So, if you could give our listeners one piece of career advice today, if someone out there is listening and feels inspired by what you've shared, and you could just take it that level up for them, what little nugget of advice would you give them?
So I think the 3 things that I live by are be present. It's such an important thing, and it's something that I've had to really learn, is like, enjoy the journey. I focus so much sometimes on reaching the end goal that I forget to enjoy the journey that takes me there, and so many things that you can experience and celebrate along the way. Applying that into your home life as well means that you're able to get that balance. You know, as soon as I kind of use doorways as soon as I walk through that doorway, I'm going to be present, whether I'm showing up for a family event, I'm there, or walking into a board meeting, my attention is fully there. So being present, be intentional with the decisions that you're making, because you have to feed into your purpose and what sets you on fire. And if it doesn't, you're never going to get to where you need to be. You know, from a sales point of view, there's no point making 50 calls a day just to tick boxes. Pick up the phone, be intentional with what you're talking about. When I'm building a strategy, it's with the company strategy and vision. I've got that in my mind. So making decisions with intent. And then the third, I would say, is consistency. Just be consistent in what you do. Try different things, and if it works for you, like I see so many people, I get up at 5 a.m, I jump into a cold plunge pool. Fuck that, no thanks. Zero interest. I drink a green smoothie in the morning. Like, one size doesn't fit all. Figure out what works for you, and then be consistent with those things.
Love that.
Love that. Final question. If you could change one thing in a talent acquisition space, if you could change one thing, what would it be?
Connectivity of the TA space. I always understood in recruitment agency why you can become, and I'm seeing a change now, and you guys are amazing at it, but you're not afraid to collaborate and share your ideas. You know, you are pioneers for a lot of what you do in your space, but you're not afraid to help other people that are in the industry along their way. I see a lot of talent acquisition functions, especially across Milton Keynes, doing some really amazing things, but they're kind of doing it in their own space. And I see a lot of opportunity where they could collaborate a lot more and share those ideas. And in all honesty, I probably need to take ownership of that and create some kind of community where we can share those ideas. And don't get me wrong, there's great things like RecFest. I'm going to this in July, where lots of different internal recruiters can come together and we share lots of ideas. But that's once a year. And it's not regionalised or even to the space of Milton Keynes, because how we attract and recruit in Milton Keynes is totally different to how you do it in Manchester or London. So I see a huge opportunity there for more collaboration, more sharing of ideas, and rather than seeing each other as competition, it's kind of seeing how we can all work together, because there's a lot going into Milton Keynes, turning it into a bit of a tech hub as well.
I love that. So is that you putting your hand up to say that you're going to champion one of our In The Mixx community for our talent and HR
Absolutely,
professionals?
you heard it here first.
There we go. Natalie, it's been great having you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for your
Bit of
time.
a full
and-
circle moment, isn't it?
I know, right?
For anyone that's been listening that is curious about Aiimi and what you guys do so amazingly, or for anyone that may be going through the endometriosis journey or just truly inspired, where can they find you?
LinkedIn, baby.
LinkedIn. And what is your name?
Natalie Gibbings.
There we go.
Good stuff. If you guys are still watching at home, in the car, wherever you are, please like and subscribe. We hope you've enjoyed it. In the Mixx. Thank you.